Hi everyone, thank you for joining me here today. We have the honor of having a wonderful speaker, Anthony Joyner, aka AJ, with us today, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to turn it over to him in just a second, but before, quick housekeeping. Our September calendar is now live of all of our September events. These will be available for you to pick up, or for anyone online. They will be on the website by the end of the day, so you can figure out and plan your calendar for the whole month of September, a month in advance. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Anthony, and he'll give you a little bit about him and a little bit about what he's doing today.
Ooh. All right. Hello. Mic check. Hi. Let me turn my phone off because that's rude. So my name is Anthony AJ Joyner, and just thank you so much for having me here. First of all, I love Beaufort. I'm from a really small town in Louisiana. It's called Leesville. We have the small town vibe, but we don't have the beauty. So I absolutely love it here, and it's always an honor to drive over. So again, my name is Anthony Joyner. Everybody calls me AJ. And I developed this software tool called Blooksy, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But just a little bit of background about me. So again, small town kid, raised primarily by my grandma. She believed in spankings and education. So that's sort of my background. Professionally, went to college, majored in computer information systems, and then I spent about 20 years building software at corporate America. So places like CDC, Center for Disease Control, and I built some cool tools there actually. So there's a tool called OutbreakNet, and what OutbreakNet does, it tracks all the foodborne outbreaks around the world. So I was the lead sort of developer on that. Worked for the Georgia Department of Transportation. Cool project there. So you know when you get on the interstate, how those lights flash green and red? We rolled those out across the state of Georgia back. We were one of the first states to roll those out. And that was a project that I was sort of the lead developer / analyst on that one as well. So just some cool stuff. But the entire time I worked corporate America, I always knew there was more. So at night, I was, there's a movie, it's called Life. It's about these two guys that go to prison. And they're wrongly imprisoned, and every couple weeks they try to break out of jail. But then they keep getting caught, but they never give up. That's how I felt in corporate America. So I tried one thing after the next. I went to broadcasting school, which I actually am on radio now, so that worked out. But I did literally everything. I started my own desktop computer company, just one thing after the next. But what I understand now is that all of those experiences sort of rolled up into what I'm here to talk about today, okay? So, okay, enough background. Let's get to the meat of this. So what is Blooksy? Blooksy is a software as a service. That just means you pay monthly and it's web-based. Software as a service, and it accelerates the process initially for writing books, and then we sort of expanded to other markets, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. And so just one thing, it's in my head. And I'm sort of an ADD speaker, so just kind of follow me. Yes?
I don't know if we can ask questions now, right? But I was wondering how long it's been out, how long it's been available.
Great. Oh, you can always ask questions, by the way. So I had the idea November 13th, 2020. And I have a whole story about that. I have a story about everything, but I'll definitely get to that. And we rolled it out. The alpha version of the software was rolled out April of 2020, and the alpha version was only to a group of people that I'd worked with my traditional publishing company. And I rolled it out because I just wanted to know if somebody would pay for it. And the way that I developed it is, once I had the idea, I didn't want to just go spend money and develop. And I sort of learned this in corporate America, so that was helpful. I started out by just drawing it on a whiteboard and sharing it with everyone in my group. And I said, this is what I'm thinking about, guys. Just drew some screens, and I said, would you pay for this? And they said yes. So then I went and made PDFs out of those drawings. And I started showing, if you click here, it's going to show you this, and if you click here, it's going to show you that. And I said, would you pay for that? They said yes. So I said, put your money where your mouth is. I gave them a PayPal link before I built anything. And we had a lot of people pay for it. And then I was like, okay, well, they're doing what they say they're going to do. So that's when we rolled it out.
When did you actually have it out in your hands?
November, well, so I rolled it out then, so we had people signing up for it. We went away and developed the actual screens, and people paid for the very early ugly version. That was April 2020 is when bringing my daughter home from school, got a notification that someone actually paid for it. And I told my daughter, like, hey, somebody paid for Blooksy. And she's like, the thing on your whiteboard? So that was my first paying customer. And then we rolled it out we still haven't done like a big launch because I don't really believe in those until you have a reason, like, or $1 million or something.
So incremental iterations.
Incremental iterations. We started out with just building your outline of your book. That was the first iteration. Then we sort of added AI and voice, all the other things to it. So April is when it was sort of private alpha. Beta was in July of 2021. Public was November of 2021. So this November will be 2 official years. And I'll share more in a second. But any questions you guys have, just let me know. So now this is what I do for a living full time, but I'm also on a syndicated radio show. It's called the Willie Moore Jr. Show, and we're the #1 syndicated faith-based show in America. We're in 41 markets, I think now. And that's sort of, being on the radio show, I created a brand called Books Across America. And what we did is we partnered with the radio station. For every market that we were in, I would partner with a church and or a library, and we would go help people write memoirs. Like we would do 1, 2, or 3 day workshops to help them write. Okay? And I'm sorry I keep staring at you, but you're kind of center mass. Anyway, so I had a hybrid publishing company called Right Angles, and to date, we've published just over 400 authors. But the entire reason I even built this software is because of the pandemic. Because I was doing Books Across America, traveling around the country. And of course, March 2020 happens and travel is sort of shut down for a little bit. So I threw all the people that I was working with into that initial Facebook group that I talked about. And that's when I'll get into the other part of that story in a minute. So, so today I just want to share really a few things. Number one, 3 big ideas on why you should turn your expertise or your story into a book. Then I want to give you a 4-step process that we follow. And if you do this, I promise, and I won't give all the details, of course, but you can get the first draft of your book done in 90 days. And that's by committing half an hour, at least 2 to 3 times a week. And if you follow the process, I promise you can get your first draft. And I've said it before, and people are like, yeah, whatever, dude. But it really works, okay? And then how you can use artificial intelligence to accelerate that process. So the first reason I think you should write your book, and this is actually one of my favorite books. It's just a really compelling story. This is Tara Westover, and she grew up in it's the Latter-day Saints community, and her story is compelling. Like when I listened to it, I heard about it. Then when I actually bought the audiobook, because I buy audio now, I sat in my car probably for 2.5 hours and could not walk away because her stories that she told were just so intriguing. So I think there's an opportunity to share your story. December 2022, actually last December, I was in Puerto Rico speaking at a writers conference, and I met a gentleman. His name is Captain Bill Pinckney. What's interesting about Captain Pinckney, and I think I actually have him in here, is he's the first man to sail around the world solo on a 72-foot boat, right? So Captain Pinckney comes up to me after my presentation, and he says, hi, AJ, I'm Captain Pinckney. I want to write a book, and I want to use your software. So gave Captain Pinckney access. I gave him the discount for $20 a month. And within 90 days, he had his first manuscript done without typing a single word. And I'll show you how in just a minute. So I think you can actually share your story. And what that does actually, so for example, for Tara, she's become like this sort of world-renowned speaker now, and she talks about her experience growing up in that community. It just opens doors. Even me, right? I've written probably 6 or 7 books, but once you write the book, and I'm fully aware that people don't read books as much as they used to, right? But it still makes you the de facto expert once you write your book, okay? And one thing I forgot to say, guys, if you want to like take pictures and all that and share it on social media, please do. The hashtag is Blooksy Books. So any questions on sharing your story, turning it into a memoir, anything like that? Is anybody interested in writing a book? Show of hands. And would it be an expertise book or a memoir, or what type of book would you consider?
I haven't defined it yet.
Okay.
But considering launching a personal brand, which with the intention of proliferating into all the business products.
Sure.
But I haven't set the narrative and the key messages of that personal brand.
Yes.
The book would echo whatever those pillars will be, which aren't defined yet. So, but I recognize the value of it.
Yes.
You will be a thought leader in your industry, and it'll draw traction to your ecosystem.
So that we'll get to that, and as a matter of fact, you're gonna have a lot of stuff to write down because I'm actually gonna walk you through the process, and it'll be really helpful. Promise. Yes.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Maybe, I apologize.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand. Maybe that was just a water bottle.
No, I do a lot of reading.
Okay.
I thought about it, maybe after I listened to you today. It just
Okay.
feels so big.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
It is big, right? But it's big if you don't have a process to follow. If I gave you a blueprint, and I'm going to actually share some of it, and I can recite it from my brain, but I tend to get scattered, so I'm just going to follow the presentation. But I can make it smaller for you very quickly. So 2 other people raised their hands, I think.
I did.
Yes.
I did, but I don't think it's a category. But I'm gonna wait, because I have so many questions, I'm gonna wait towards the end.
Well, just throw it out there, high level, what you were thinking. I'm just curious.
Probably very science-based,
Okay.
maybe sci-fi, I'm not sure.
Got it. So it would be fiction for sure.
No.
No, okay.
It's difficult.
Okay. It's complicated. There we go. Yep, Jess.
Memoir-based or
Okay.
work and experiences.
Yes. So I tell you what, I'm gonna just reserve my excitement because we'll get into the details in a second. Okay. Now, was there one more hand? And I can talk about this all day, by the way. So if anyone wants to stay after, I'll stay and do a one-on-one with you, whatever you need. And I'm not here to try to sell a bunch of stuff, right? I'm just here to tell you about it. And if you want to do it, feel free. But if not, I'm still here for you. All right. Expertise. So this is Steve Cadigan. He's responsible for growing LinkedIn from 400 to 4,000 employees. A good friend of mine, and they're actually using my software, but a good friend of mine is his writing coach, and he's talking about how work has been disrupted and how corporations should rethink the corporate work structure. And his book is called Workquake. Yes, Workquake. And again, so if you want to share your expertise, there's a very simple process that you can do to follow that, especially if you're giving someone sort of a step-by-step process to follow. And let's just get into how we can actually do that, because I think that's what everybody's here for. So give me a second, because I'm thirsty. Okay, so what's the process? And this will be super helpful for anyone. So the first thing you want to do is define what is the question, what is the story question. So overall, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? So for me, I have a book that's called Stop BSing and Write Your Book. All right, and in the book, it gives you literally a step-by-step process to follow. And you can get it for free, by the way, if you want to. It's ajsfreebook.com. But anyway, so it's what is the big question? So my big question is, or at least for today, how can experts leverage their expertise into a credibility building book using AI, right? So every chapter, now I have a roadmap. That's the question. Every chapter in the book should follow and answer that one high level question. If it takes 15 steps, if it takes 10 steps, if it takes 8 steps, this is gonna lead me to the result, right? Because the person who reads my book, they wanna know how to leverage AI to write their book. Super simple, right? If you're doing a memoir, you wanna think about what are the stories, what do I want my reader to walk away with, right? It could be a few lessons, but then at that point you say, okay, well, what stories do I need to share about my life that will help that reader understand the points that I'm trying to drive home, right? So then it gets super simple after that. So once you've defined this, Every single word in the book should help you get there, right? So what is the big high-level question? And then every answer to that, or every sub-answer, is another chapter. So the way that you can do it simply is you can, is there a whiteboard up here? I want to do like examples and everything. Here we go. So if my book is how to write a book, right? So this is what I want, this is what the reader wants to walk away with, right? So what are my chapters? Number one, you need to define who are you writing it to? Who is my audience? Right? Now, how do I write that into a chapter? So I would open up, this may be my introduction. The reason I wrote this book is because there are lots of people out there who have thought leadership, they have expertise, and they have stories that can change lives. I wrote this book to give everyone in those three categories a process to follow so that they can write their book. And that can be sort of the opening, right? Then there are a couple things I can do. So that could be chapter one. Now, of course, I would come up with a better chapter title, and there are ways to do that, right? Chapter two, it would be, so you want to write your book, define your audience, and maybe you want to establish credibility. Who's my audience? Why you should listen to me. So that, I mean, and I can change the order later, but that chapter could be, so my name is Anthony Joyner. As a matter of fact, that probably would be first, right? So again, this whole process, you just want to brainstorm it all out first, and you don't want to do what I'm doing right now. You don't want to edit real time. So if I were taking someone through this process, I would just give them 3 minutes to write down everything that you need to write in this book in bullet point form. Just 3 minutes, just get it all out. And the reason I put a time constraint on it, because if you have a lot of time, guess what you're going to do? Oh, God, wait a minute. I need to move this chapter. What? You would do what I just did. But if you had 3 minutes and you had to get it out, you would have it all out first, right? So what are the things and what are the stories that you need to tell? So if we were writing your memoir, for example, I would say, okay, well, let's break your life up into 4 quadrants, right? What are the early life stories that you need to share? Just outline them in top bullet points. What are the high school, college, you break your life, and then are those stories relevant to your overarching question? Then you could get rid of some of the bullet points, right? So that would very quickly get you from this high-level question down to these are the actual process steps to get there, right? What you're doing is you're creating a roadmap for your reader to understand whatever your overarching question is. So any questions now? No? I'm not that good, y'all. You're good? Okay, cool. Then the chapter details, right? So now, why you should listen, maybe there are 5 reasons you should listen. I've written 5 books, or 7, or however many. I've helped 400 people. I own the publishing company, right? So now that's your chapter level. Those are the stories that you should tell in your chapter, right? Again, this is going to be sort of your roadmap, but then each one of these questions or outlines can be answered with a story, right? Now, something I don't have in here is this is a framework that we created for quick storytelling. It's called Star Story Solution. Every story, it has a star story solution. So what happened, who are the people, what happened, and how did it turn out? That's a very quick way you can tell any story, right? So then you could either A, pull out a tape recorder and just tell the story and then have it transcribed. So that way you're not dealing with writer's block and all that good stuff. So I could literally answer each one of these with a story, record it, transcribe it, drop it in there, and I can come back and edit it later. Now, are you starting to see how you can get this done sort of systematically and quickly? Yeah? Okay. No questions? Okay.
You have the voice transcription built into the product.
I have. AI power. That's what we're talking about, how to leverage AI. Okay. Finally, you want to talk to them about what are your call to actions? What do you do next? How do you contact me? So those are some of the things you can do to either, you want to have some of that at each chapter, the call to actions, but then when you close out your book, you sort of summarize everything you just did and tell them the next steps overall and then how they can contact you. And that's a very quick framework of how you can turn your story or your expertise into a book. Just 4 high-level steps. And I know it's very anecdotal, right? But again, it's a process that anybody can follow. Everybody good so far? Cool. Now, let's talk about how you can use artificial intelligence to accelerate the process. So this is where we get sort of into why I'm here. So November 13th, 2020, I get a text message actually from a friend of mine I know she's going through our book writing process. But y'all remember during the pandemic at the very beginning, people were getting sick sort of randomly. Everyone's at home and no one really knew what to do, right? So I'm trying to run a publishing company remote for the first time. I have writers that are in different cities and states, et cetera, and they're working with our authors, but I think we had 5 writers at the time and maybe 2 or 3 editors. But they would pass the manuscript they were working on to the other person when they got sick to keep the process going, right? Well, what happened, and long and short of it is, I got the text message, I called her back, and she said, AJ, I love you, but this has been a horrible process. I keep getting pushed around to different writers and editors, and to top it off, my book launches Tuesday, and they published the wrong version. Because if you think about when you're emailing people back and forth, what happens? You have a version on your computer, then you have a version that's the attachment, and then the person that makes the changes has a version. Then they have to download it, rename it, email it back. So, right? All that happened. I didn't know where they were in the process. I just knew I had to fix it. So what I did is I refunded her money because it was the right thing to do. And after we got off the call, we ended up pushing her launch back a week, and she launched fine, right? We pulled it all together. But that made me ask myself a question. Why isn't there a tool where you can collaborate, where you can speak instead of write your stories, and then editors can come in and modify whatever you spoke, right? Because people know the stories, but the hard part is writing the story that's in your head. But if I gave you a set of questions to answer, and I said, use this STAR Story Solution framework and just tell me the story, you could go out, we speak at about 200 to 225 words a minute. You could walk around every day for 10 minutes and tell a story. And you'd have about 1,000 words a day, or every time you did it, right? So now, if you do that 3 times a week, or if you do that for 30 minutes, now you have 22,000, 3,000 words every time you do it, because you're just telling a story, right? And then you drop that into the platform or into any platform. Now you have, we call it dirty first drafts, right? So, and that's how you can do it in 90 days. And that's how you can very quickly sort of get that draft out there. And once you get the draft out, it's just a matter of hiring editors to get it down to something that's, yes.
Oh, no, finish, I want.
No, go ahead.
Well, I guess I thought you would have had version control in this system, or the writing that's being developed.
So that one, I haven't segued into my software yet. We were using Microsoft Word.
Oh, okay.
At the
that wasn't
time.
clear, that's why.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they were doing it with, they were doing, and that's what caused me to build my tool.
Yeah. Oh, so this led to the development of your.
Yes.
Okay, so, and then the other question is sort of one that occurred, which is, where's the data? Like, where's the transcription recording? Like, is this in the cloud? What's the protection for the data?
Good question. So I'll tell you what, instead of going through the rest of the story, I guess I can walk you through it. So this is our tool. It's called Blooksy. We have what started out as a tool just for writers. We've now expanded into different writers, i.e. authors. We've expanded into different markets, right? So it turns out 3 of my first 10 writers were also professors. And they said, hey, AJ, Anthony, we're using your tool to write our dissertation. I was like, interesting. Because I had mapped that out in my vision, but I didn't know that they were already going to just start doing it, right? And there's a whole story, but we have, so far in production, we have nonfiction, fiction, poetry, academic article, dissertation, thesis. Those are all in production being used right now by universities, by schools, by writers like you guys maybe, right? We are in our third development meeting for grant writing templates. We'll have grant writing templates in October. We've already partnered with some grant writers to make sure that we have all the stuff in there. So we've taken the process that we accelerated book writing with, and now we've applied it to dissertations, academic articles, thesis, grants, et cetera, okay? And this is Captain Pinkney. I think I told you guys about him. And this is him launching his book. He went from here to a first ugly draft without writing any words because he types like this. He's 87 years old. He spoke and he did exactly what I told him. He's like, I'm gonna do what you say. Every 3 or 4 times a week, he would walk out with the software, because you can do it on your phone, and he would just tell the different stories after he sort of had his outline. And again, 90 days, his first draft was done. He used AI, right? Another way that you can use the AI, and I'll show you the tool in a second. How am I doing on time? I don't want to go over because I'm rambling. Oh, good, perfect. And I'll show you, we have AI. So sometimes you may have trouble finding the words to define a beautiful day. You can go into AI and say, type a scene of a beautiful day in Beaufort, South Carolina. And it'll spit out this soliloquy of beautiful words. And you're not going to copy and paste those, but it'll trigger you to start thinking of your own, right? So that's another way. So first draft, done in 90 days, launched this book June of last year at the Chicago Maritime Center Museum. Super happy, it was a big deal. And he had been waiting to write that book for decades. So we were able to help him get it done. This is a partnership we did with the city of Atlanta. It's been about 3 weeks now, where we took 28 children that were in economically depressed areas, and we're able to help them write and publish their book in about a 4.5 week time frame. Partnered with the city, that's the mayor. He's like, dude, I don't even have a book. So now we're expanding that to more schools in Atlanta. We have 8 schools that are coming on board now, because we're marrying it to literacy, writing literacy. I'm not an educator, but they're gonna reverse engineer the bootleg, the bootleg training that I did and turn into a real curriculum. And bootleg is a professional term, by the way. So here's a demo of Comora. I wonder if it's gonna play the demo, if it's gonna, let's see. Oh, okay. So Comora, and we didn't write this for her. She wrote it, and then we gave her some tips on how to clean it up. But she's 13, I think, and she's one of our children.
A student at Cape Atlanta Collegiate, and as of today, I proudly can say that I am a newly published author. I want to take a few moments and show you Blooksy, the software we use that made writing our books easy. It kept us organized so we didn't feel like we were all over the place, helped us overcome writing block, and gave us the ability to work together on writing our books remotely. Here's how it works. First, you choose the type of book that you want to write. Then you type the title, subtitle, and author. As you can see, it's very organized with the copyright and other stuff already there. You can also add chapters with one click. If you struggle to write like we did at first, Blooksy has an AI-powered voice to text.
And by the way, it should be showing you the AI-powered voice to text now, but it didn't do it right.
Or stories or write into the chapter, and it will transcribe it for you, so you were never stuck with writing block. If you need more ideas about a topic, Blooksy has an artificial intelligence built in, so you type your topic, your ideas, along with a few keywords, and in a few seconds, Blooksy quickly gives you lots of content to inspire your creativity. Plus, it has a helpful share feature, so our entire cohort work together to give each other feedback and get feedback from our coaches. So in 5 weeks, 28 kids who started out as strangers were able to write books together because Blooksy kept us organized while our coaches led the way. So we want to thank the Summer Youth Employment Program for letting us use Blooksy so that we could share our stories with the world.
Okay, so that's Comora and her demo. Now let me get back to what I'm supposed to be doing. Cool. Also, so Kennesaw State, We were introduced to Kennesaw State. I got lucky and won a pitch competition, and it just so happened that Kennesaw State was in the audience. Didn't know that. So I ended up meeting with Yvonne's boss. We did a demo, and he said, we want this. So we started our pilot December last year. We had our first check-in with the professors. We started the pilot with 20 researchers. Had our first check-in in February. They expanded it from 20 to 50 researchers, so they bought a 50-pack license. Then their final decision was May of 2023, and starting January 1, we're going campus-wide. So that's my first, really big deal. So this is kind of crazy because it was literally an idea for writers. So now we're doing that. We're also, first week in December, we created another program on top of this called Bars to Books, where we're helping inmates tell their stories from behind bars using the same process, right? So again, inmates that have problems typing, they don't have to worry about it because they can just speak into the tool, right? So first week in December, we'll be with the California Department of Corrections, and I'm actually presenting to the Secretary of State. Is it the Secretary of State? Yes, Secretary of State for California. So I'm really excited about that. And that was all just coincidence of someone uses, she worked in the Pentagon, and she wrote her book, and then she introduced me to a mayor in California who actually sat on the board of the Department of Corrections, and they showed it to another person, and they were like, who? They were like, you know the person who made this? And we got on a Zoom call. They were like, this is great. And it's just been kind of a wild ride, and I'm just kind of following it. So that's cool. And then hopefully, you guys recognize the people in these pictures. Hopefully, we will roll this out. And I call it God's winks. And what that means to me is that sometimes if you have your intention set right, then things will start to align, and it doesn't make sense, but it actually does make sense because God is just letting you know that you're doing the right thing. So hopefully you guys will have this in your school system soon. We'll be helping children write books. Any questions? You feel like you can do it now?
Yeah, I think it's a great tool. And,
Thank you.
And I really admire the Marcus, people who are incarcerated, the kids, and I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, so the thought process behind that is just interestingly enough, I'm always asking myself questions like, how can we do this in a different way? So use the same tool, but in multiple ways, right? So the first one was, how can we help children do this? As a matter of fact, I took this out of the presentation because it was in here. 1 year ago, July 14th, 2022, I posted on Facebook, I'm thinking about creating a writing program for high school children. If you're an educator, please send me an inbox message. That was 2022, July 14th. July 14th, 2023 was 2 days before the graduation of the program actually happened. Literally the same day, 1 year later after I posted that. And I just kind of started doing the work. And again, things just started to happen. So I just kind of follow sort of my gut and try to create ways to make it easier for different audiences. So that's where both of those came from, the Bars to Books and the Beyond Literacy. I didn't have names for them or anything. And I actually used AI to come up with the the Bars to Books name. Because I was like, book writing for prisoners. And I put it into AI, and they gave me like 5 different names. So here we are. Any other questions? And thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Can you talk about how your software differentiates from ChatGPT and your character count limits meant to keep people from plagiarizing from AI?
Yeah, so a couple of different things, and I'm going to actually go into the tool, if that's cool. Looks like we have about 20 more minutes. Okay, so we're inside the tool inside of a book, and I'll open the AI. So one of the advantages that I have as a startup is that I can listen to people and make quick changes. So we're using OpenAI, essentially, right? Same thing ChatGPT is built on top of. But one of the things that we're building on top of this is, number one, we're building just a traditional plagiarism checker tool. You guys heard of Turnitin to check plagiarism? We're integrating a Turnitin type tool, but then we're also building an AI plagiarism checker tool. So it will tell you there's red, yellow, green. This is highly likely to be written by AI, because it's all algorithms, right? So it'll say, hey, this is all red. Everything highlighted in red shows you a string that was probably written by AI. So you'll be able to, as you export, you'll be able to know, okay, I need to change some of this. I can't just copy paste. Also, in the school system, what that does, though, is teachers can now just look at it and say, nope, go back, right? So it makes it easier for there. So we're building at 2 levels of the ability to check. Then also, what are some other things that citations. So we're building in a citation tool. So one-click citations, it'll tell you where this data originated on the web, right? So that's really good for our research partners. Some other things that we pivoted away from, but we're going to come back once we actually have some real funding. Initially, I built this, again, for writers, right? So my initial path was, once you finish your book, you can click export here, and now it will export a PDF or a Word doc, right? What we were going to do is put a publish button here, and it'll open up a window, and you can just put your information in, and it'll automatically upload to Amazon. If you have, you'll just log in, almost like it'll pop up your Amazon sort of login. You go through there, and it'll automatically publish it to Amazon Create Space, which is the hard and softcover books and KDP. We pivoted away from that because we found out that most writers are 2 things. They are very picky and very cheap. So writers want every single thing. They're like, wait a minute, you can't highlight text in here? I'm like, do you need that to actually write a book? Right, but then they were like, well, I can't use it, I'm just gonna use Word. And that's fine, right? But once we pivoted to universities, they just want the framework because they can use the framework and they'll buy 1,000 licenses. And I'll tell y'all, Jess knows this. So when I was on the final call for Kennesaw State, I was at my daughter's volleyball practice, sitting in my car on a Zoom call on my phone. And now I have a salesperson because I met him at a conference, but we were all on the call, and Yvonne was saying, Yvonne and Dr. Epps, they were kicking around how many licenses they were going to order. And I heard the number 200 licenses, so I was thinking they're going to say 200 to 250. And has anybody ever run a startup here? If you've ever run a startup, you know sometimes you're like up late at night, you're trying to do payroll, but you're trying to do features, and you're trying to answer customer support. And even if you have processes in place, it's just not easy, right? So I was looking at my bank account and payroll for the next couple months. I was like, geez, I got another month, but overall the math ain't mathing yet. So they said 1,000 licenses, and my JW, my sales guy, said, oh, yeah, that'll be 1.2 million. And I had to turn the camera off on the phone because I had tears in my eyes. I was like, so it's just been that kind of journey, right? But again, it's a lot of fun. And again, the other thing is we're getting real-time feedback from our users, right? So our university partners, they're really partners because we're checking in with them and they're saying, hey, can you add this? And what we do is we take their feedback and we apply it to the broader audience. And we say, okay, well, they're asking for this at Kennesaw. They're asking for this at University of South Florida. Maybe we need to do this in the next rollout, basically. So, yeah, next question.
Well, now I wonder how many software developers you have, because you can't be on one anymore.
We have 3 developers, 1 business analyst, and then I don't know how many junior developers they have.
Okay, so people are getting some sleep?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Having a weekend?
Yeah. And the other thing, so we're using React, right? So, and now with AI will write code for you, so it's made it a lot easier, right? So they can sort of define what the outcome is, and then AI will write the code, whereas before 2020, they had to actually write the code. Or before ChatGPT.
So going back to those other 2, one is, which is where is it, I guess it's cloud, it's a cloud.
Yes, so we are backed by Amazon. I mean, we're backed by Google.
Where's the data, like, where's your personal narrative data and your quote product or your buyer data?
Sure.
And how is that?
So we're using the same platform that Google Docs uses because Google made a $100,000 investment and they're on my board now. So when you use Gmail, it's on Google Firebase. When you use Google Docs, it's on Google Firebase. When you use Blooksy, it's on Google Firebase. Security and storage and the whole thing. Great question, by the way.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, it's secure. And our backups are every 3 seconds.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So, processing I can do.
Yep.
Is there a limit here to the amount of processing that if you're asking for help from the AI side, that you can do in a specific amount of time?
No. We have a developer API, which gives us sort of carte blanche.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, as developers, they want developers in there massaging the data.
Okay.
Yes.
How much is it for a one-person offer?
$300 a year. So $25 a month. Or $600 for lifetime.
How long can you do that for?
Ever. So the model that we're following is my target audience isn't writers per se. My target audience is universities and grant writers. And because they pay bulk, it gives us the flexibility to make it cheaper. And ultimately, the goal is to follow the Slack model. And that Slack made it free to everyone because they had enterprise sales, right? We just don't have our first 10-figure deal yet. But it's coming because Harvard's going to spend $10 million. Any other question?
What is the version control? Like, do you have version control? How would you manage it? Suppose, is there any, I don't know if it's how, it seems like it should be necessary, but is there any kind of like freezing a state and then that doing a lot and?
We decided, I know what you're saying, we decided not to invest in that
Okay.
because the way that universities are using it, they would probably need it most for research, but we don't have enough writers that are using it with multiple people to where a version would.
I guess I'm thinking of that first book rollout, the woman called in, right, where you had the Friday night call them, and you found out that everybody's working with different versions, but now it's centralized, right? So you
It's
have
centralized.
one.
We only have one version. So we don't need, so if they were downloading it to their own computers and then uploading it again, we would need that. But because they're all using the same version, they don't need that. Now, there is a use case where it could be possible, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So in other words, it's not worth investing the amount of money and time to build that for a handful of users, right? It'll come eventually.
You're going to need that for the grant writers eventually if you have a team of people.
We're going to build it. That's where we're building it for the grant writers.
For the grants and the proposals, if you had this entire team.
Sure.
And we all had sections and we were all committing results.
Yep.
You're going to have to be able to measure the commitments.
Sure.
And then control the commitments.
Yes. So we're working with the United Way as well for the grant writing component. And right now, even at the University of South Florida, they had a team of 6. Their traditional process before using this for a call for proposal was a 13-week process. They did it with this and the AI with 6 writers in 11 days. And they won their proposal. And they all had their own sections. But it was a rule that was sort of a business rule where every person was responsible for their own section, so there was nobody overwriting anybody else's stuff. If that makes sense. So, yes.
I have a question. So, if I understand if I want to write a book,
Blooksy. Mm-hmm.
Blooksy, so as long as I have that overarching theme, that main question that I want the whole book to embody, I'm once that overarching concept is defined,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like follow the framework, just start spinning content and refining it.
Sure.
So I'm personally getting hung up because I've been interested in writing a book. I'm personally, and I know I'm not a student at the university like your exact target demographic,
Sure.
so
Mhm.
it's not engineered for like an entrepreneur per se.
No, it is engineered for initial, so because we were the first use case. I mean, this sounds loud. Is this loud? Okay. Okay, no, it's just weird hearing yourself. So I'm like, do I sound like that? Yeah.
My question is, not to cut you off, my question
No, you're
is there help with, like for me, it's just a matter of defining what that overarching theme is. Like, what's
Sure.
the correct thing? How do I work through how to figure this out for my goals? And because once that's figured out, then I'm just like,
It's
okay,
off
let's
to the
hop on
races.
train, yeah.
So what is it that you want? What action do you want people to take? Do you want them to hire you?
Well, I know the result that I want it to
What
have.
is that?
So
Okay.
And as an entrepreneur, I want to have an ecosystem of products. And basically, I want this Eiffel Tower, which like the book could be.
Sure.
So to give you a metaphor, you know, in Paris, you got the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower doesn't make a lot of money on the tours, but
Sure.
all the businesses around the Eiffel Tower
Sure.
are getting traffic.
Yep.
So the idea for me is I want the book to be like the Eiffel Tower to draw into people into my ecosystem. Now they're buying from a jewelry business. Now they're buying whatever my core offers, my smaller products, etc.
Here's a question. What do people ask of you the most?
Well, I'm not.
Because I'm sure there are different audiences, right? Do you have a marketplace where you're selling multiple people sell, or are you selling everything?
So
And by the way, I used to own a digital marketing agency before I did this, so I would help people like you create their sort of brand ecosystem. So that's what I'm going down. Is this too much for y'all? Do I need to do a one-on-one with? Okay, cool. We can do this real time.
We all know Alan.
Okay, cool.
So most of my effort has been in that one, building out this core business. So the rest of the ecosystem is relatively undeveloped. So
Sure.
like my personal brand, rather than trying to do bits and pieces at a time, I'd like to go ahead and define the framework of the personal brand so that every piece of content that's generated
Is an offshoot of that.
Exactly.
Got it. So again, let me ask you this. So do you want, let me understand your business just a little bit more first. So people go to your website and they buy jewelry.
We specialize
Custom
in
jewelry.
Custom service. So they book a call, we get their discovery call, and then we 3D model, designs, present it through their dashboard, and then we manufacture it. So it's
Got
very
it. So
special.
it's entrepreneurs coming to you with an idea, you develop the idea and you provide them a product so that they can sell and make money.
In this case, retail consumers, not entrepreneurs. They need engagement rings, wedding bands, stuff like that.
Got it. So it could be Alan?
Yeah.
Okay,
me
so-
as a person isn't like jewelry.
No, I get it. So ultimately, people have an idea. People being retail company, retail stores, people who want to sell jewelry. They have an idea. They come to you. You consult with them, ask them a series of questions. You model something for them to go sell, whether it's a wedding band, a diamond necklace, or whatever it is. You build that, and then they go sell it on your platform or on their platform.
You don't have a quite grasp on what I'm doing exactly.
Okay,
So
okay.
there's a little disconnect. I'm selling to direct to consumer.
Okay, D2C.
So, so I'm niched down to selling direct to consumer. I'm not selling to other retailers.
I tell you what, let's do a one-on-one after this, because I think we're close, but I'm turning left where I should be turning right. But so ultimately, so let me make it broader. So if I'm establishing myself as an expert that makes jewelry for people, 5 minutes, okay, I can say, I don't want to think book title, but sort of social media. What if you could turn your ideas that you have into jewelry into real products that you have in your hand? If that's something that interests you, then you can talk to me. But from a book perspective, I would write a step-by-step guide for creating jewelry, for turning your ideas into your own money-making jewelry business. And the book would be called Jeweled, or something like that, right? Or Bejeweled. And that would be a double entendre on being jeweled, bejeweled. Anyway, correct. Right. So yeah, as a matter of fact, I would write a book called Bejeweled, and I would say, do you want to be jeweled? And what does bejeweled mean? Do you want your ideas to be turned into jewels? And then I would say a step-by-step guide for turning your ideas into jewelry, blah, blah, blah. And the first thing could be, is it going to be stones? Like, is it going to be natural stones, or is it going to be manufactured? Is it going to be metal? And then I would do the pros and cons. One thing I wish I knew when I started my first jewelry business was blah, and that could be a chapter. Here are 3 things that you want to avoid. You don't want to buy from China. You want to buy from Toronto. That could be, you know what I mean? Like the best places to source your jewelry. The 3 things that you absolutely want to do before you start. Identify your target. You know what I mean? So you just start to outline. So write the problem and write 3 solutions to every problem. And those solutions could be in your book. And the problems could be the things that drive people in, because when people search for things, they search for problems that they're trying to solve. How can I do blah? Where can I find blank? Jewelry businesses near me, right? Or the top 10 jewelry places in the top 10 cities, and you can do one for each. I do this with real estate agents. You know, the top 10 houses in this particular market because they sell in this particular, or the top 10 school systems, or the top 10 places, things to do, right? Because if you're a real estate agent, would you rather buy from somebody on a billboard or somebody who wrote a book about a specific community that you want to live in, right? So, yes.
So I'm here primarily with my sister.
Okay.
She is wanting to start writing children's books.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I understand that you can create your own template.
Yep.
By asking, a one question and then sub-questions under that.
Sure.
Does the software have templates that you can use, or templates as far as like an outline that you can see as suggestions?
No, but I have something I can give you
Okay.
that you can use specifically, or your sister can use specifically. One of the biggest audiences when I was doing this traditionally was the children's book audience. So I created this template in Canva. I'm not doing it in this because children's books are complicated because it's one thing to write the story, but it's another thing to work with the illustrator because they're creatives and they're super sensitive, and you're trying to explain what you want and they're drawing things and you're getting frustrated, and then they'll just literally disappear on you. And that happens a lot, by the way. But I can help you with that. It's super simple to solve, and I'll give you this for free. This has all the pages, so what you would want to do with this is take stick figures and just print this out, draw what you want on each page. And then that makes it easier for the illustrator. Another thing you want to do is you want to go to Google, and if you're searching for a little girl with big blue eyes and, you know, a red dress, you go to Google, you search for illustration, girl, big blue eyes, red dress, and then you crop out the eyes that you like, you crop out the dress style that you like, you crop out the hairstyle that you like, put all that into a folder, then you give that to the illustrator along with your stick figures that you've drawn out. And you say, these eyes belong to Lisa, I want Lisa here, 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 here. These boots belong to Billy, and you know, whatever, and you have to be very granular when you work with illustrators, or you'll spend a lot of money and a lot of time. So I'll give you this, and then if you want, I can just help you with that. But I stopped doing it because it's a headache. And here's another hack. If you can have your system write her book to some sort of learning standards, then she can get them into school systems easily. And that's a monetization thing. Otherwise, she's gonna be mad because she's gonna spend $5,000. She's gonna sell 100 books, and the math ain't gonna math right.
So right now she does therapy, and
Okay.
she's writing it from that perspective.
Oh yeah, well she has a great market then, but she needs to just niche it down and solve specific problems.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't solve multiple problems in one book. I would do a book about a problem.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Yes.
We've got to cut it off for the live feeds because it's right at 1, but
Okay.
everyone else is welcome to stay as long as
Yes.
everyone has time to answer any additional questions.
Yes, so I'm here. I can keep going.